Welcome to another episode of the Common Man's Take on Sports with Kevin and
Quentin.
All right, Quentin. You want to talk a little MLB?
Yep, I'm ready.
So, unfortunately, the Braves, the team that I picked to win the World Series, got beat down by the Phillies. The Phillies won that series 3-1. The Diamondbacks swept the Dodgers. The Rangers swept the Orioles. And then the Astros won their series. So, wow.
Yeah, I mean, this really surprised me, usually, I thought the Braves could carry their regular season momentum into the playoffs, but no, they got stopped by the Phillies. Anything can happen in baseball, but I don't think anyone expected the Phillies to beat the MLB's best team this season.
I should have known better than to trust the Braves.
Yeah.
They always find a way to lose.
Yeah.
So I should have known better. The Astros won their series 3-1. I actually, all the two series that surprised me most was the Astros series with the Twins. I thought the Twins would make a series of it, but they did not. In the Braves-Phillies series, I thought that the Phillies had an outside chance to win that because of their momentum coming into the playoffs. But I did not think they would beat the Braves 3-1 in that series. I thought it would come down to the fifth game, and it did not. The Phillies just jumped on the Braves early every game.
Yeah, that's been a problem for the Braves. They can't take the early lead, and in this game they just really couldn't stop the Phillies.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I'm thinking this over, and right now I'm realizing I should have never trusted the Braves because Braves just couldn't cut it against the Phillies. I thought that was going to be a good series, but I didn't think the Phillies would absolutely dominate them in all four games. 3-1. I thought it was coming down to the fifth game, but I agree. I thought it was coming down to the fifth game as well, and it really surprised me.
Yeah. I agree. I did not expect that at all. Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know.
I mean, the MLB's top two teams in the regular season just got beat in the divisional round. You had the Orioles swept by the Texas Rangers, and now you've had the Braves beaten in a 4-game series against the Phillies. So the Baltimore Orioles were okay, but now the Braves, it just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. Now we got the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros, which I think so. I was wrong last round, but those two are division rivals, and I do think that's going to be a tighter series. I think that series may go the length of the series. I don't think there's going to be any sweeps or early end. I think that series will come down to the last game. And then the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, man, I don't know. Both of them, I don't know, because I feel like if I say it's going to be a good series, the Diamondbacks might jump on the Phillies early, because the Diamondbacks, like the Phillies, are riding a momentum they had at the end of the year, and the Diamondbacks are good.
Yeah,
So
Uh,
I don't know. That could turn out to be a really good series too, or it could turn out to be a Diamondback sweep. I'm not really sure about that one. We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
That's a tough one to call.
yeah, I agree with you. You know, bitter rivals, the Rangers and the Astros. That's probably going to be probably the one of the best series in the whole MLB playoffs this season.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I mean, it's going to be really good because the Rangers have swept the Toronto Blue Jays and now the Baltimore Orioles. Not the Blue Jays, the Rays. And you know, the Astros are looking really good, you know. And I think that game is going to come down to the last game of that series. The Diamondbacks Phillies, I think that's going to be a good one. Because you have the Diamondbacks who are on fire in the playoffs, who just swept the Dodgers, and they swept the Brewers. So I think that's going to be a good series. And the Phillies just beat down the MLB's best team this season. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a good series as well. I think this is going to be both those series are going to be really good. I think both those series will come down to the last game of that series.
Yep. I can't argue with you there. On another note, now we've talked about the MLB, I want to talk about a story that I read earlier today from CBS Sports. It was talking about Deion Sanders and his son. So there was a video out there on social media with Deion. I don't know how valid it is or not. It's a video. It's the video is real. It's Deion talking to Rich Sanders about Rich Sanders, for those of you who don't know, is a scout for the Atlanta Falcons. So he was talking to Rich Sanders, and he was basically saying that we're not coming back to Atlanta unless both Sanders boys are drafted by the Falcons, basically. Almost like he was trying to get the Falcons to draft his two sons, Shiloh and Shedeur. And so I have 3 questions surrounding this, right, that I want to talk about. So question number 1. What are the draft grades on Shedeur and Shiloh Sanders right now? So for me, obviously Shedeur Sanders is in the Heisman race. He's done really good recently in college as a quarterback of Colorado. I think that he's proven he can definitely play on the Division I. I think that he's had some adversity playing at Colorado that has helped him grow and develop as a quarterback. And I do think he's a legit draft prospect. I know the Falcons they're 3-2 right now, but I know that Desmond Ridder has not panned out to be what they thought he would be when they drafted him. He's just hasn't developed into what they thought he would be, like he was in college. So I guess my first question is, would Shedeur be a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder? And I don't know that to be true, but I do know that Shedeur is definitely a really good athlete, and so he was probably a little bit better than Desmond Ridder as far as if he got into trouble being able to use his legs and maybe extend plays or, take off running if he needed to. So would he be a better quarterback in Atlanta? I don't know, but Atlanta probably wouldn't have to spend a high draft pick to get him. So what's the difference in throwing your chips in on a Shedeur Sanders as opposed to any other quarterback coming out this year? Because it's always a crapshoot anyway, right? How many number 1 draft picks have we seen that don't pan out because they don't develop or their games don't translate over to the pro level, right? Look at Ryan Lee. Look at Matt Leinart. Look at you know uh, Mariota, Marcus Mariota. I mean, I could keep going here. Look at the what was that garbage quarterback out of Ohio State a couple of years ago in '06 that won the Heisman that shouldn't have won it.
JT Barrett.
No, not JT Barrett. JT Barrett never won a Heisman. Man, that's gonna make me mad. I'm gonna have to look that up. But he didn't translate either. So, like, there's so many quarterbacks that were highly touted in college, but their skills didn't translate, right? And then look at Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Boom, last man picked in the draft. Look what he's doing right now, given the proper offensive scheme and the proper talent around him to help him. You know, he's developing just fine. Look at Tom Brady, probably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game. Got drafted into the right team with the right scheme, with the right players, talent around him, and he developed just fine. So really, it's a crapshoot anytime you draft players in draft because you never know if they're going to translate. Johnny Manziel's another one. Highly touted in college, did some amazing things in college, but just didn't translate into the NFL, right? So, I mean, if the Falcons did want to spend a draft pick on Shedeur Sanders and draft him in a later round, even if he has a second or third round value, like you're still not. I mean, that's probably not a bad pick. And you never know what if Shedeur Sanders turns out to be, you know, a really good quarterback. You just got a good quarterback. You know, I think it'd be worth it. Probably for them if Desmond Ridder doesn't pan out this year. I mean, why not? Right? What do you think?
Yeah, you know, Desmond Ridder hasn't looked his best for the first 5 games of the NFL season, and if he doesn't pan out,
he's got like 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, and a few fumbles to add with that.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I agree. You know, if Shedeur can be a better QB, can be a good QB in the NFL as well as in college, and yeah, I think he'll fit in Atlanta just fine. And Deion Sanders, I think he'll fit there as well. Yeah,
so before we go any further, just for some of you who are too young and probably don't know this, Deion Sanders started his career with the Falcons. They drafted him, and he was a superstar with the Falcons before he left and went to San Francisco and then Dallas after. And I think he finished his career either in Baltimore or Washington. But go ahead, Quentin, just to give a little background of Atlanta and why that's significant. Him asking Atlanta to draft his sons. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that is well. I liked that story, and I saw that he wanted his sons to go there because he started his career with the Falcons, and you know, I get it. I really do get it. I do have a feeling. I do feel like that Shedeur will fit perfectly with Atlanta if Desmond Ridder doesn't turn out to be what the Falcons were hoping him to be when they first drafted him at Cincinnati.
So now my next question that you kind of covered when you talked about Shiloh. Do I think Shiloh Sanders has shown enough and put enough tape out to be a draft pick? I don't know. Because if you go back and look, he started his career in South Carolina, right? In 2019. He only had 1 tackle. He only played 1 game that year in 19. In 2020, he played 32. He had 32 tackles. with 1 pass defense, no forced fumbles, no interceptions, right? So he goes to Jackson State for 2 years because his dad's there. My guess is he probably, since he only played 1 game in 19, he probably ended up redshirting, which gave him an extra year of eligibility. And then everybody got an extra year after the COVID year of eligibility because those seasons were short, right? So his first year at Jackson State, he only had 2 tackles, 1 forced fumble. He did have 4 interceptions, though. He plays safety. For those of you who don't know, because I know Shiloh's not the brother everybody talks about, because he plays on the defense side of the ball. He's a safety. He did have 4 interceptions, so that's a plus. His second year at Jackson State, though, wasn't as fruitful. He only had 11 tackles, 3 pass defense, 1 interception. And so now his first year at Colorado with his dad, he's playing full-time starter. He has to first 5 games, he's got 32 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. And he did take the interception 80 yards for a touchdown. I believe that was the first second game they played. I can't remember, but I just don't know. I'd have to look around to see what draft grades are for him, but honestly, at this point, I don't think he's very high on scouts list or NFL teams list. So if the Falcons wanted to draft him, he could probably be had in the later rounds, maybe 7th round or so. But I don't know if he has a draft ready grade on him yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You know, he has low numbers.
I just don't know if he's as highly sought after as his brother, right, Shedeur. And we all know that offensive players get more love than defensive players, right? With the media always talks about offensive players. They rarely talk about defensive players unless you're just blowing it up and you're special.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally agree. In my mind, I was like, I wasn't so sure, but I went with him as a draft pick because I thought he was going to be at least a 5th, maybe 6th round pick.
That's possible.
Yeah. I just feel like that he may. I just feel like that he has enough.
Right now, I feel like teams have him as a undrafted free agent target, to be honest. But without kind of researching around, I don't know for sure yet. Maybe 5 games aren't enough for enough tape, because I know he did miss 2 games, I think, 1 or 2. So maybe he doesn't have enough tape yet at Colorado for scouts to even give a true evaluation yet. But I just don't think he's worked his way into the draft conversation, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking in my mind, what you're saying right now. And his numbers are low. I do have a feeling that he may not be a draft pick. He may be a free agent. But I think later on in the season, scouts might be watching tape from him. I mean, he has a pretty good start to the year.
Mm-hmm.
So
he does have good height for safety. 6 foot. He's 195 pounds, so that's about right for a safety. Safety is usually anywhere between 190 to 210. That's usually safety. So I'm not saying he can't be a good NFL player. By all means, we've seen players. If I'm not mistaken, Matthew Judon wasn't even drafted. He was an undrafted free agent that the Baltimore Ravens picked up, and he became a superstar with the Ravens. And now he's a all-pro and Pro Bowl player, right, in New England. He started as an all-pro and Pro Bowl player in Baltimore and then left to go to New England. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying that Shiloh won't. Obviously, he's playing a position that his father is familiar with, so he can kind of develop him a lot, being on the back end of a defense. So I just don't think that he's as visible right now as his brother. So I don't know if scouts are paying that much attention to him just yet. So I don't know if he's even going to be drafted, to be honest. Right, currently. It's only 5 games into the season. Right, 6 games, actually. 6 games into the season. Because we're getting ready to play week 7 in college. So my thing is, this leads me to my next question, right? Let's say the Falcons did draft both players. So this is my next question. Is Deion telling the Atlanta Falcons that he would come coach there if they draft his sons? He would come home to Atlanta where he was drafted and played the first part of his career to coach? Like, is this Deion's destination in the NFL? His first destination, the Atlanta Falcons? Are we seeing this play out right in front of our eyes and nobody's really paying attention here?
Yeah, this really does look like it. No? His first NFL coaching job might actually be with the Atlanta Falcons, after just 1 year with Colorado. But I agree. This does.
That's my question. Is Deion going to be the next coach of the Atlanta Falcons? Is that what this is all setting up to do? They're 3-2. Let's say they end up having a losing season, right? Is this what we're looking at right now?
It may be, because right now, it's really looking like it. If he wants his sons to get drafted to Atlanta, maybe he wants to coach at Atlanta.
Because he didn't say they in that interview. He said, and I quote, we ain't coming back. Emphasis on we ain't coming back unless we bring in the Sanders boys to the A. So, we ain't coming back. What does that mean? That's why I'm asking the question. Does that mean that he's telling Atlanta that if they draft his sons, he'd be interested in leaving Colorado to go to the Falcons? Now remember, the Falcons did just go to a Super Bowl a few years ago when they lost to the Patriots. Remember, they were up big in the first half and had that huge second half collapse. And the Patriots ended up making that comeback and winning that Super Bowl, right? So the Falcons aren't that far removed from being in a Super Bowl. And they've made some good draft picks and free agent signings lately. So it's not like they're void of talent. So, this is, when I saw that and I read this article, I'm like, man, is this what I'm, is this what I'm seeing here? Is Deion telling them he'd be interested in being the next head coach if they draft his sons? What is going on here? There's some negotiations going on here?
Yeah, this really does look like some negotiations with Deion in the Falcons,
Is he trying to go home to Atlanta to do something that he couldn't do as a player and win a Super Bowl in Atlanta? When he played in Atlanta, they were bad. They were historically bad.
Yeah, they were one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Them and the Saints both were historically bad back then. So that's interesting to me that he's talking to the Falcons about drafting his sons. That's making me wonder, was I right when I said that if he stayed in Colorado he could turn him around, but he's not planning on staying there long enough to turn him around?
This sure does look like it, because
Here's my other thing, right? So as I look, everybody's talking about recruiting and Deion bringing in these, players in the recruiting classes. I'm looking here, right? So for the 2024 class, that most of the big targets have committed to one big school or another. I'm looking for Colorado on this list, right? And I'm not saying Deion couldn't flip some players. But currently, as I go down here, I don't even see. Hold on. Hold on. I don't even. Nope. I'm trying to find their draft ranking. Oh, there they are. 68. They're ranked 68 right now for the 2024 recruiting class. So even if he flipped one or two targets, like that's not going to jump him all the way up into the top 20. He only has 9 commits for that class, and only one of them, no, 2 of them are 4 stars. Everybody else is a 3-star recruit. And so my question is he really already about to jump ship from Colorado?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I'm pretty sure both of his sons are leaving for the draft this year. At least Shador is. I mean, they're not even above Colorado State. Colorado State has a better recruiting class than they do.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, he's not even in the top 50 in the recruiting class yet. So I mean, he's already about to leave.
I don't know if he's leaving or not. I'm just like that's just interesting for me because everybody's talking about how much him bringing these stars to the games is going to help recruiting. He's going to flip those. So one of the comments from LaShawn McCoy, I can't remember the other guy's name right now, when they got mad about the Dan Lanning speech, they were like, what, he'll be flipping some of the recruits Dan Lanning's enjoying right now. But, like, currently, as it stands, they ain't flipping nobody, brother. Like, they're down the list. And so my question is, has Deion finally realized how hard it is to recruit at the Division I level? Like, just bringing in stars to the games isn't going to get you recruits, man. You got to prove you can develop them, coach them up. You got to prove that you can win games, like big games, not just games you're supposed to win. Like Jim went through that for years. Harbaugh for Michigan before he finally got good recruits to come in there. Like he was getting good recruits, but I mean, you really gotta to do a lot of things to get those recruits coming in. Just the Hollywood show is only part of it. You got to show that you can develop. And so right now, the only players he's shown he can develop is his 2 sons at Colorado. So is that affecting his recruiting? Is that why he's trying to panhandle the job in Atlanta? I don't know. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. I'm not saying he won't probably flip some recruits later down the line. I'm sure he will. He's a very good... Deion's always been a good talker and a good salesman, right? So he's going to connect with the young kids because he knows how. He stays in touch, right? Deion's a good talker. So he's going to know what to say to get some of those recruits to come. But I'm just curious since he's starting to see the struggles of recruiting those good kids and pulling them away from the already established powers of Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Oregon. Like, you're fighting teams that are already, it's USC, Lincoln Riley. Like, you're fighting teams that are already established, already got kids coming in. Like, you got to somehow prove that you're better than those coaches. And to get those kids to flip and come to you, right? So, my question is, has the struggles of the college recruiting made him start thinking about an NFL job? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. No, that recruiting class just hasn't really panned out as he wanted it to. All this attention isn't gonna bring recruits there. You've got to be a pretty good team to get recruits there. And I agree with you. This looks like that he barely has any recruits coming to Colorado. So I mean, I agree with you. This looks like he's going to get an NFL job. This really does.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but I'm just wondering if that's what this is setting up, right? Is he trying to find an out currently, like a contingency plan in case it doesn't work out in Colorado, right? Is he already working on a contingency plan right now? Is that what this whole Atlanta Falcons thing is? Like he's trying to set up his escape plan? I don't know. There's some things to think about. I'm not saying he's leaving. I'm not saying this means anything. Maybe he's just trying to get his sons drafted, which you can't blame him for that. Any father would do that. Coach, you're not. If you were a high school kid right now playing sports, man, I'd be sending tape to colleges all around the country of you showing them, which so I can understand as a father trying to get your sons drafted, right? I get it. I just wonder if there's more to it than that. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's just me reading too much into that interview and him talking to that scout. Who knows? Only Deion knows for sure. And his sons, his family. But I just wonder if there's more to this. It's kind of what I was thinking. So, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. But I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Is Deion already planning his exit from Colorado?
I mean, after one season, you're about to plan.
Bro, it's tough in college. It's tough, man. Any college sport, baseball, basketball, football, that's a 24, 365 day a year job. Because even when the season's not going, as a coach, you're still out there recruiting, man. Like your season's never over because you're always trying to get that next kid right to come there. Like once the season's done, you're focused on recruiting, developing the talent you still have, and recruiting new talent to come in. So it's a 365 day a year job. NFL, when the season's done, man, you're done, right? And you don't start back up until those first involuntary workouts and involuntary workouts, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I was, again, maybe the grind of the college sport is maybe a little too much. Maybe it's starting to wear on him a bit after, one season of Division I. You never know. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's starting to, right now, maybe he's starting to regret being in Division I right now. Because, I understand as well. Father wants his sons to get drafted. And, yeah, I agree. Maybe he's just doing this to get his sons drafted. I think he might be, right now, maybe a little tired of he's a little tired of just yeah, I think that he's.
Again, I'm not saying he's going anywhere. He may stick at Colorado for several years. I'm just curious. This just came out, and it just makes me wonder, right? I wish I could get an interview with him and talk to him a bit and ask a few questions, but I don't know. It just makes me think. Is he creating an exit plan, or is this just him playing his sons up again to try to get them drafted? What's really behind this? I don't know. I was just curious when I read that today. Makes me really think and wonder, to be honest. But that's kind of all I had for today. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, there's nothing else I want to cover.
All right. Well, that's it for our show today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and download our podcast. As always, if you don't like listening to podcasts, we do have a YouTube page, which I do want to mention. We will be doing our first video recording. So I'm not sure when. It'll be within the next couple episodes. And so when we post our one of these next couple episodes on YouTube, it will be a video of us. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully very well. But yeah, we're getting ready to do our first video recording of our show. So we hope you guys continue to listen. We enjoy you guys listening now. We hope you continue. And thank you. And don't forget to recommend us to your friends and family and continue to grow our podcast.